There are moments in life when the pain becomes so heavy that a person begins to question everything. You pray, but the answer seems delayed. You try your best, but doors continue closing. You trust people, but they disappoint you. You make plans, but life moves in a completely different direction. And slowly, without even realizing it, doubt begins entering the heart. A person starts wondering, why is this happening to me? Has Allah forgotten me? Will things ever get better? These thoughts become stronger, especially during difficult seasons of life, when the heart is tired and the soul feels emotionally exhausted. But this is exactly the moment when a believer must hold on to faith the most, because hardship is not the end of your story. Sometimes Allah allows the storm because He is preparing you for something your current version is not yet strong enough to handle. One of the biggest mistakes people make during hardship is judging Allah's love based on their current situation. When life becomes easy, they feel hopeful. But when life becomes difficult, they begin thinking Allah is distant from them. This is dangerous because Allah's mercy is not measured by how comfortable your whole life feels. Some of the people most beloved to Allah went through incredible pain, loss, rejection, and hardship. Yet through every difficulty, Allah was still near to them, guiding them, strengthening them, and preparing them for something greater. The believer must understand that difficult times are part of life. No human being escapes pain completely. Even the strongest people carry hidden struggles. Some people are fighting battles nobody knows about. They smile in front of others while their hearts are quietly breaking inside. Others spend nights crying silently, overwhelmed by fears, uncertainty, or emotional exhaustion. But during those painful moments, Satan whispers hopelessness into the mind, trying to convince the believer that nothing will ever improve. This is why trust in Allah becomes so important during hardship. Because faith shines brightest when life becomes dark. Sometimes Allah delays answers not because He wants to punish you, but because He wants your heart to grow stronger first. Human beings often want immediate relief, immediate success, and immediate solutions. But Allah sees the full picture while we only see the present moment. There are things you praying for today that may require patience, growth, and preparation before they arrive. And sometimes the delay itself contains mercy you cannot yet understand. Think about how many times in your life you worried endlessly about something, only for Allah to eventually open a door you never expected. Think about the moments you believed life was falling apart, but later realized Allah was redirecting you towards something better. This is why the believer cannot allow temporary hardship to destroy permanent trust in Allah. Situations change. Pain changes. Seasons change. But Allah's wisdom never fails. One of the most beautiful things about believing in Allah during difficult times is that it changes the condition of the heart even before circumstances improve. The problems may still exist outwardly, but internally something begins healing. The heart becomes calmer because it stops carrying the burden alone. The believer realizes that Allah sees every tear, hears every dua, and knows every hidden struggle. This understanding creates peace even in the middle of uncertainty. Many people become spiritually stronger after hardship because pain forces them to reconnect with Allah since all rely. During easy days, distractions often pull the heart toward the dunya. But hardship has a way of awakening the soul. Suddenly prayer becomes more meaningful. Dua becomes more emotional. The heart softens. A person who once depended completely on people begins depending on Allah instead. And although the hardship itself may feel painful, the spiritual closeness that develops through it becomes one of the greatest blessings of all. Sometimes Allah breaks your plans because your plans would have broken you. Sometimes He removes people because they were harming your future. Sometimes He delays opportunities because your heart still needs growth before receiving them. But human beings struggle to trust this wisdom because they only focus on immediate emotions. They want answers now. They want relief now. Yet Allah's timing operates with perfect knowledge, not temporary feelings. The believer learns that true faith is not only worshipping Allah when life is easy. True faith is continuing to trust Allah when nothing makes sense. It is continuing to pray when answers feel delayed. It is continuing to hope when life feels uncertain. That level of trust transforms the heart completely. Because it shifts focus away from temporary problems and toward the one who controls every outcome. And perhaps this is why some of the most powerful transformations happen during difficult seasons of life. Because when every worldly support feels weak, the believer finally realizes that Allah alone is enough to carry them through anything. There are moments in life when hardship becomes so overwhelming that a person begins to feel emotionally exhausted from carrying the weight of everything alone. Problems keep coming one after another, prayers seem unanswered, and the future starts looking uncertain. During these moments, the heart naturally struggles. Questions begin appearing inside the mind. Why is this happening to me? Will things ever improve? Has Allah forgotten me? These thoughts often come when a person is emotionally tired and spiritually weak. And this is exactly why difficult times are one of the greatest tests of faith. Because hardship does not only test your patience, it tests your trust in Allah. The moment a person begins doubting Allah's wisdom, their heart becomes even heavier. They start focusing only on what they lost, what went wrong, and what they still I do not have. Slowly, fear, anxiety, and hopelessness begin taking control of the mind. A person starts believing their situation will never change. But the moment they stop doubting Allah and sincerely place their trust in Him, something beautiful begins happening inside them. Their heart slowly starts healing even before their circumstances improve. This is one of the most powerful realities of faith. Trust in Allah brings peace to the soul before solutions even arrive. Human beings often think peace only comes when all problems disappear. They believe they can only feel calm once they receive what they want. But true peace does not come from controlling life perfectly. Real peace comes from trusting the one who controls life perfectly. This is why two people can go through similar hardships, yet one completely falls apart while the other remains emotionally stable. The difference is not always the hardship itself. The difference is trust. One heart feels abandoned while the other believes Allah is still guiding every moment, even through pain. There are people today carrying silent struggles that nobody around them fully understands. Some are struggling financially while pretending everything is fine. Others are carrying heartbreak, loneliness, anxiety, or emotional wounds they never speak about openly. Many people smile in front of others while secretly crying at night. And when hardship lasts for a long time, it becomes easy for Shaitan to whisper hopelessness into the heart. He wants the believer to think Allah has abandoned them. He wants the person to lose faith in Allah's mercy and timing. But a believer must remember that difficult times do not mean Allah has stopped caring about you. Sometimes Allah allows hardship because He wants to strengthen parts of you that comfort could never strengthen. Pain teaches lessons that ease often cannot teach. Hardship humbles the heart. It reminds a person how deeply they need Allah. During easy days, people sometimes become distracted by the dunya. They rely too much on their plans, their money, their relationships, or their own abilities. But when hardship arrives, suddenly the soul remembers Allah sincerely again. Prayer becomes emotional. Dua becomes honest. The heart softens in ways it never did before. This is why some of the people closest to Allah became spiritually stronger through suffering, not comfortable. Right? Hardship often becomes the reason a person develops deeper faith. And although the test feels painful in the moment, later they realize Allah was using those difficult days to transform them internally. One of the biggest reasons people struggle emotionally during hardship is because they constantly try to understand everything immediately. Human beings want quick explanations for pain. They want instant answers. But Allah's wisdom does not always reveal itself right away. Sometimes years pass before a person finally understands why certain events happened in their life. A closed door that once caused tears later becomes protection. A delayed opportunity later becomes mercy. A painful separation later becomes guidance. But during the difficult moment itself, the heart cannot always see the bigger picture. This is where trust becomes essential. Trust means believing Allah is still writing goodness for you even when life feels confusing. It means believing His wisdom is greater than your understanding. It means refusing to let temporary pain destroy permanent faith. And once a person reaches that level of trust, healing begins inside the heart. The situation may still look difficult, ultimately outwardly, but internally something changes. The heart stops panicking constantly because it no longer feels completely alone. The believer realizes Allah sees every tear, hears every whispered dua, and understands every hidden fear. That realization creates emotional strength. A person begins surviving hardship differently because they stop depending entirely on worldly outcomes for peace. There are times when Allah delays blessings because the person is not ready yet. Sometimes character still needs development. Sometimes faith needs strengthening. Sometimes Allah is protecting the person from receiving something too early. But human beings struggle with delays because they only see the present moment. They do not see the hidden wisdom behind Allah's timing. Think about how many things in life once felt like disasters but later turned out to contain goodness. Think about the people you cried over who later would have damaged your peace. Think about opportunities you lost that eventually protected you from harm. Allah knew what you did not know. And just as He protected you before, He continues controlling every detail of your future with wisdom and mercy. A believer who trusts Salam Allah deeply understands that life will never be completely free of hardship. This dunya is a temporary place filled with tests, changes, and uncertainty. But the believer also knows that Allah never wastes pain. Every hardship carries lessons, purification, growth, or hidden blessings within it. Sometimes the test itself becomes the reason a person returns to Allah after years of distance. The heart heals when it stops fighting Allah's decree emotionally. This does not mean pretending pain does not exist. Islam never teaches people to ignore emotions. Even the prophets experienced sadness, fear, and grief. But they never allowed hardship to destroy their trust in Allah. That is the difference. They cried, but they still believed. They struggled, but they still trusted Allah's wisdom completely. And when a person finally reaches that level of surrender, peace begins entering the heart quietly. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because the soul learns that Allah's control is greater than every fear, every uncertainty, and every difficulty. The believer begins realizing that even if the road feels painful now, Allah is still guiding every step towards something meaningful.